Hello and welcome again to the Rider Review. I'd like to apologize for the connection had went down during my broadcast, so I have to redo this. So I'd like to sincerely apologize for any further inconvenience. But anyhow, this week's movie, I'm going to try and go by a little bit more quicker this time. I'm not gonna go off too much on this. I'm going to try and be a little more smaller and more careful in my descriptions here. Okay, the movie I'm doing is Victoria and Abdul. This is a biographical drama that runs for 1 hour and 51 minutes long. It is directed by Stephen Frears. It is produced by Tim Bevan, Eric Fellner, Beban Kidron, and Tracy Seward. The script was written by Lee Hall. The book was based off of a novel by Sharbani Basu. The score was done by Thomas Newman, the cinematography by Danny Cohen, and the editing was done by Melanie Ann Oliver. And the stars of the movie are Dame Judi Dench, Ali Fazal. This is the final movie for Tim Pigott-Smith, who sadly passed away before this movie was released. Let's see, we also have Eddie Izzard is in this. So we have Adeel Akhtar. We also have Sir Michael Gambon, Paul Higgins, Olivia Williams, Fenella, Woolgar, and Simon Callow. So Victoria and Abdul center around two people who are madly in love with each other while keeping it platonic and showing that love is not necessarily a physical thing, but a more affectionate emotion one has to the other. In this case, it's on Queen Victoria and an Indian Muslim subject whom both seem to have a great connection for one another that was based on actual events under the direction of Stephen Frears and scriptwriter Lee Hall. Although the intentions were good in the making of the movie, it's still overwrought with stuffiness, lack of coherency, and looking to find the right genre of the film. It just does not seem to be settling in terms of where it wants to go. Does it want to go as a comedy? Does it want to go as a drama? Does it want to go as a period piece commentary? It just seems very, very clueless in its delivery. It can't decide what it wants to be. The drama level is definitely on par with Queen Victoria's personnel, along with the angst and the irritability regarding the bonding between Her Majesty and this Indian servant. But the leading performers successfully managed to build a strong relationship even through the hostile intensity which evolves around the subjects of racism, keeping Britain British, and trying to hold back from diversification, which is definitely a contrast from today's standards. Hell, the mayor of London, his name is Sadiq Khan. So, it really has come a long way in terms of diversification and equality in Britain. But anyhow, back to the subject. Okay, the story centers around Abdul Karim, played by Ali Fazal. He is an Indian servant living under the British Crown and government. He is a commoner who's responsible for taking logs at a local prison. He becomes a presence to Queen Victoria, played by Judi Dench, only due to his tallness, and was told never to make eye contact with her. Unfortunately, he did make eye contact with her, and she made eye contact with him back, and it was kind of a bit of a love at first sight thing, only it wasn't really actually a love at first sight, but kind of more centering around somebody to fill in the void. After all, after the death of her husband and after the death of another commoner named John Brown, she just needed one more person to help kind of fill in the void during her last years as a queen or her last years alive. So the one powerful Victoria is definitely now in her 80s. She's kind of bordering on senility. She is pudgy. She has become sick to death with the routines and the demands that has been part of her life, most of her life. She eats in an uncouth manner and has lost a lot of etiquette and sleeps during important meetings. When Abdul offers her a gift, she gets awestruck by his handsome visage. She demands that he stays with her for a while and be by her side. She's also fascinated by his language, his culture, his ways of life, his music, and she just pretty much wants to hire him as sort of a teacher, a tutor of some sort. And he is more than willing to. Why not? I mean, being a teacher to a queen, hey, what do you know? You get free bed and breakfast. You get pretty much everything ever handed to you. I mean, she's practically infatuated by this young man. And he's more than happy to be of great service to her. But the question that people often wonder is he actually doing this in a humble term, or is he doing this as an opportunist? And I think that's just up for the viewers to decide. Some people say that maybe he was being an opportunist, while others say that he was a faithful, loyal, humble person who didn't really actually ever wanted this kind of attention, but was giving it to him, just like on a silver platter, so to speak. And I think that's kind of like what this Abdul eventually ends up getting. I don't think he ever really wanted this attention, but he was still willing to just take it. Why say no? Why hurt the old lady's feelings? She's in her 80s, she doesn't have long to live. What is she gonna do? So his physical well-being kind of helps rectify her vitality, while her close encounters become infuriated by the day. She doesn't really. He becomes kind of a misfortunate victim of racism because, back in the 19th, early 20th century, Britain wanted to stay true to its white race and found no place for diversification. And nobody really wanted him there, especially her son, her successor to the throne, which would be, he was known as Bertie. Some people knew him as the Prince of Wales, but when she died and he became king, he was dubbed King Edward VII. Now, unlike his mother, who was on the throne for 58 years, unfortunately, his reign on the throne only lasted 9 years. Or was it 8.5? What do I know? I'm not British. All right. The movie is definitely a tale of two individuals who are not quite disconnected from each other, and definitely lost on two people. First being the queen, restoring of faith in the house, to and second being the people. So there is a culture clash between an upstanding head of the to the Indian culture that Abdul is giving to her. Now, I'm not sure if it was still called British India, because I don't think Pakistan correctly. I think it was still back then called British India. I'll have to look that up. Anyways, back to the subject. Yeah. And of course, the whole drama thing comes from, why is this minority getting higher ranking positions when he's only just there to fill the void? He's a commoner. He's just a note taker at an Indian prison. He's practically a nobody. He does not have a crowned name like a duke or a baron or a count. He is a commoner, a plebeian, a nobody.
Come on. You do it. Right.
The transformation from light comedy to darker territories can actually be quite revolting, though it is still in conjunction with the development of the script, but it just feels indecisive. Does it want to be a period piece drama? Does it want to fall under satirical intentions? Because there are many times when it feels like a satire. I mean, Frears is more known for being famous for British comedies. Think of 4 Weddings and a Funeral, amongst those other kind of type of movies. So that's why I feel that this movie kind of makes Queen Victoria look like a parody. But then again, you got Judi Dench cast in this. And Judi Dench is practically untouchable. She can do no wrong. The Queen is definitely in this stage in her life where everything to her seems pointless. And once Abdul enters her life, her energy is definitely restored again, like it was some miracle, and that the subjects think it's all just a phase and she'll eventually lose interest in him. But the conflict in that assumption falls very, very flat. Sure, it has its moments of charm and a few areas of surrealism as well, like in the second primary focus is on Victoria's demands from the physicians to check out Abdul and his wife as to why she can't produce, which definitely falls into very dark and heavy-handed scenes. Of course, this physician is, a racist because he does not want, because it's not in his jurisdiction to do medical procedures to a commoner, let alone a minority. This may definitely spark some interest and intrigue because of the fact that it was only just recently that we've known that Queen Victoria had this personal bonding with this Abdul Karim. Nobody really knew about it until like 2010. It was kind of like blackballed. He was blackballed from the monarchy. And it was only just revealed like a few years ago that she actually had a camaraderie with this guy. And I think that's where the film does have this moment of interest. But the awkward pacing and the narrative will definitely leave you flabbergasted. When it comes to the technical aspects, like the production design, it is definitely brilliantly nuanced. The settings and the location are visually stunning, and the film does have that authentic look like you're stepping into 19th century England. The costumes are very well fit for the period, and the diversity that comes with the package is quite sublime. You know, he seems to be a very patient individual, and she seems to be a very willing student. Hey, who says the queen can't take orders? Sure, she could. She's still human. She's not only has to be. I mean, not all queens have to be stuffed shirt and bossy. They can live a little. If you ask her, can you please scratch my back? I'm sure she'll do it. She doesn't have to, but she wants to. It's her prerogative. Like I said, Frears' direction seems to be in confident hands with a combination of splendor and intimacy. In terms of lightness, the chemistry between Victoria and Abdul is very adaptable, and we can feel the passion one has for each other. However, like I said, the red herrings reign here, as well as the subject matter becomes overwhelmingly heavy. I think it wants to try to cover too much, but it only has a limited time. The performances are universally excellent. Judi Dench may have overdone makeup, but she still generates a complex role quite flawlessly, and she plays senile while displaying a light role mixed with darker and heavier themes. Ali Fazal, who is not by any standards a household name, he definitely shows great depth in his role as the humble, lovable servant, and shows that underneath all their majestic powers, he knows she's still human like the rest of us, and knows that she can be a friend in him. And I think that's all he wants. In fact, I don't think the guy ever really actually ever wanted to be pampered or spoiled or anything. And there have been many times when he felt like he wanted to be dismissed, but every time he looks like he was going to be on his way out, she would just invite him back in. See, that's kind of where the comical level seemed to come. And in some ways, it can be funny at times, but then there are times when it does wear out its welcome. And, you know, in some ways, that kind of bugs me a bit. So, to end this, I would have to say Victoria and Abdul succeeds in many areas, like the acting, the sets, the costumes, the production design. They are all top-notch. The direction of where it wants to go gets lost, and though the first two acts were definitely light in comedy, it starts to become much more jarring as we come near the end, and the third act becomes just darker. Yes, I know we don't like to watch a person as they're dying, but you know, reality is she was falling gravely ill, and then after she died, King Edward VII, her successor, her sonny boy, pretty much simply told him, "You've had your moment. Now get the fuck out of my palace." That's pretty much kind of what he said in much more politer terms. And everything that was written in her journal about her relationship with this Abdul completely torn to shreds and thrown into the fireplace. Only to realize that history can resurrect. And that even though he may be erased from a lot of things, there was still enough proof and evidence that she and this Abdul Karim had a bonding during her final years as a Queen of England. So would I recommend this movie? I would say yes. I'm not going to dismiss this movie. I'm not going to say it was terrible by any standards. But it was frustrating, and it was trivial, and it was a bit laborious because it was indecisive of what it wanted to be. At some points, it was basically a topic of racism, social injustice, and par for the period of the film that it was in. Other times, it seems to settle in the realms of self-parody. It would have worked out fine if we would have just decided on one subject, one genre. And it should have just stuck to that one genre. Don't confuse your audience. That's all I'm saying. So when all said and done, if I was to give this movie a scale out of 10, I would give Victoria and Abdul a 7.5 out of 10. That's kind of a fair marking, right? To each their own. So I guess this ends my writer review. Thank you all for listening in. If you wish to subscribe to my channel, I have a YouTube channel, and I would recommend you guys to come visit it. If you wish to leave a comment, go right ahead. But just remember, be kind, be courteous, and don't be rude, because if you're rude, I will not invite you to listen to my videos ever again. There is that marking that I could do that.
I won't listen to it at all. You can't take insults, why not?
And I will report you.
Oh, really now?
So until next time, this is Eric Writer saying, keep watching those movies. And I'll see you around. Goodbye.
Yeah.